let's draft a one-piece sleeve shirt placket. First, I draw a vertical line. Then I draw an horizontal line. So I join my horizontal line. So now I'm going to measure up 4.5 inches and mark. I go over to the opposite side. I measure up 4.5 inches and mark. This 4.5 inches is taken from the M line, that horizontal line that I've just drawn. I'm going to draw another horizontal line. Okay. Now I'm going to draw a vertical line. And this vertical line will represent the width of the top side placket. I draw another vertical line and I stop it at that 4.5 inch mark. And now I draw a 1/4 inch vertical, and that represents the seam allowance. I draw another 1/4 inch vertical, which represents the seam allowance. So one represents the seam allowance for the one part of the top side and the other for one part of the underside. Now I go 1/2 inch from that seam allowance. I go another 1/2 inch from that seam allowance, and I go a 1/4 inch for a seam allowance. Okay, and now I'm gonna join my notch. I measure down 1/2 inch from the top of the 4.5 inch mark. Okay, and I draw notches, and I go down another 1/2 inch to get my triangle, and I just one diagonal, two diagonal, and that's my triangle. Now I'm going to measure up 3/8 of an inch and find the middle and put a dot. And I'm going to draw, just checking, I'm going to draw a triangle. Sorry, I'm going to draw a diagonal line. And I draw another diagonal line. I put in a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Well, let's erase this line, just make it a little better, straighter. So put in my 1/4 inch seam allowance on this side of the diagonal. Put in another 1/4 inch seam allowance down the other side, and 1/4 inch seam allowance down the edge. Okay, now I'm just erasing the overhanging lines. Now I'm just gonna go over the lines with my marker so that they're more visible. Go over my seam allowance. Put in my seam allowance on the diagonal. Another seam allowance on the other side of the diagonal. Okay. This triangular section that I'm highlighting, that's gonna align with the triangular section on the sleeve and sewn on the sleeve. Okay. Highlighting the M line. So you should have put in your fold line for the top side and fold line for the underside, and you should put in notches at the outer sides of the triangle of the that rectangle. Okay. Right there, a notch should be right there. Okay, just remember to put your notch and a drill hole at the top. A notch right there and a drill hole at the top so that you know where to sew when that line is transferred to your sleeve. And it will be cut right on this middle line after it's sewn. Okay. And basically that's it for the one piece sleeve placket. Just labor my hemline and put your notches, mark your notches. Alright. And that's it. Now we're going to draft the two-piece shirt sleeve placket. Measurements are given, same measurements I'm working with. So vertical line That line represents the width of the top placket. Another 3/4 vertical. That represents the width of the top placket. A 1/4 inch seam allowance. Find the middle of that 3/4 inch and put a dot. And that's, so I went up 3/8 and I found the middle, put a dot, and now I just draw a diagonal. Draw another diagonal. Okay. A 1/4 inch down for seam allowance. Quarter inch seam allowance. 1/4 inch seam allowance. Using my ruler to put some distance between the top side and the underside. I'm going to draw the underside now. So another vertical, 1/4 inch for a seam allowance. From that 1/4 inch, that last line, go 1/2 inch. Okay, another 1/2 inch. Quarter inch, go 1/4 inch after that. Seam allowance, 1/4 inch. Okay, then I'm going to go down from that horizontal line 1/2 inch to put my notch. So 1/2 inch, notch. Okay. Now I'm going to erase the overhanging lines. I'm going to use my marker to go over the lines so that they're more visible. Okay. Yeah. Marking your fold line for the top and bottom, or the top side and underside. Put in your notches. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed this lesson. Goodbye.